Talk about your advocacy for connecting K-12 with college and careers. What does it look like to you in Indiana when that's working, and where do you see the biggest gaps right now?
Too many of our parents felt like their child just didn't have the preparation, which again, I think as a past high school teacher, we have to look in the mirror. 76% of our students on average year over year say, I want to continue my education in some way, go into some additional training, whether that's at a community college or a 4-year. And the reality is we're seeing only about 52% of our students going on right now. That means we're graduating about 16 to 18,000 students every year who walked across our graduation stages with this dream that then never happened.
We are joined by Indiana Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner.
As Indiana's first Secretary of Education and the state's top education official,
Dr. Katie Jenner is responsible for establishing a unified, student-centered vision across the full spectrum of education.
Under Secretary Jenner's leadership, the state of Indiana and local schools have celebrated a number of successes in K through 12 education.
But I think about those relay races where the students are running full speed and hand that baton back to their next person. And we just felt like in Indiana, we were dropping so many batons in the handoffs. The handoffs were just not working. Talking to higher education, business and industry, and our military partners, we brought them all to the table and said, hey, we got to do better. Here's our data. What is the recipe for success? Ultimately, the main goal, get better at that baton pass in that relay race of life.
Your thoughts a little bit. Your host, Greg Steele. You already did that.
Welcome to Leadership Unscripted.
That's one of the better ones I've heard. That's really good.
Hello. Today on Leadership Unscripted, I am so excited. We are joined by Indiana Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner. She is the state's first Secretary of Education and leads a unified vision across both K-12 and higher ed. She's been a teacher, a district leader, and worked in higher ed, and now helps drive real progress, not just progress, everybody, real progress across Indiana in areas like literacy, graduation rates, and student pathways. Please, please, please welcome to the show, who's becoming a dear friend of ours, Dr. Jenner. Dr. Jenner, thank you for being here. We are so excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And please call me Katie, and I'll call you Greg, if that's okay. But so good to be on. Thanks, Greg.
Well, thank you, Katie. Let's get right into it. So, Katie, you really focus on preparing students for life beyond school, and that's something that I think more and more states are beginning to realize, that life beyond school sometimes is not higher ed. It could be workforce. It could be anything. What leadership skills are you seeing that they need most today, and how do you think schools can begin to build those intentionally in the lives of students?
Yeah, so Greg, you're exactly right. I mean, if you go into many middle schools, especially middle school, but even other schools across our country, you kind of see middle school students sometimes wandering around with lacking that purpose, lacking that what do I do next? Which then if they lack that, right, they don't have any idea what skills they should be developing. So we in Indiana really asked Hoosiers, what are the key skills that students should know by the time they graduate high school, regardless if they're from Gary, Indiana, or Evansville, Indiana, or everywhere in between? And of course, Indiana immediately elevated. We need them to read and have a STEM, specifically science and math proficiency. But then they quickly got into those skills like communication. And I feel like with the cell phones, it's becoming even trickier. It's little things like eye contact or shaking hands, or even students who are comfortable in environments that are conversational and not just conversational on the phone. Indiana also elevated collaboration. And a lot of that conversation was around, children are our very best imitators, and how might we teach them to disagree better? What does that look like? And, I think that's a skill that our kids could learn. That's a skill that a lot of us as adults could also brush up on. But really listening to understand before responding, hearing someone out, finding common ground. Then the next thing Indiana elevated was work ethic. Employers especially said, I want kids to come to work. And we quickly responded, and we want kids to come to school. So that work ethic deeply matters. And then finally, civic literacy, financial literacy, and digital literacy. Of course, civic literacy is pretty easy to call out. It's definitely knowing how our U.S. government is set up and state governments and how to advocate. But it's also about don't wait for a handout. Don't wait for a government handout. But be a part of the solution. Be a part of your community. Contribute to make it better. Financial literacy is probably a pretty easy one that most people know why that matters. And then finally, a digital literacy, especially in the AI world, where the skills are going to start mattering probably as much as the knowledge because of kind of the pressure that we're seeing with AI shifts. So that was for Hoosiers, designed by Hoosiers. So Greg, that's allowed us to really scale it across the state.
Good. That's so good. You talked about something I want to get your thoughts on. You talked about helping students understand the importance of contributing to society.
Yes.
How can this education system do that? What are some things maybe that you're doing in Indiana that help students understand the importance of not taking the value, but adding value back to the system and the community?
Yeah, I think the first step is lighting the fire of purpose in the child, right? Making sure they know you have something to contribute. You are here for a reason. You are valuable. And then once you can kind of light that fire and they can start to see in their minds, okay, I am valuable. I can add value here. Maybe not there, but here. So we have tried to push that a number of ways, and I would we're humble and hungry on that point. We're still learning through it as well. But, one of the things that we've tried to do is expose Indiana children with, yes, knowledge and skill development, but a lot of experiential learning. Actually getting out there and letting your value be realized, whether that's through work-based learning, apprenticeships, internships, or whether that's even through service learning. That is, I'd say, probably our primary ways right now at scale that we're thinking through that.
Yeah, I love experiential learning. I love that you said that, because that is, again, with the age of technology, experiential learning is not something that students are accustomed to, right? They're not accustomed to getting out there and doing something. They're used to behind the phone and figuring something out.
Yeah. And Greg, the other thing I would add to that is, in Indiana, we have 1.13 million students in our K-12 system. And, when I'm on calls like you and I, or with the Chamber of Commerce or philanthropists or whatever, it's often the people in the room having these discussions. If our kids have a big dream, nieces or nephews or own children, we probably have a phone number that we can connect them to that big dream. They want to be a doctor. Well, let me call my buddy who knows a buddy who can probably get you in to have a conversation with them. But the reality is the vast majority of our kids do not have a cell phone full of contacts, and their parents don't either. And so I think that even in more reasons like supercharges us in Indiana to do our best to expose kids as frequently, as often as we can, to light that fire of purpose and show them what's possible.
Man, I love that. I love light the fire of purpose. I love what you just said about the cell phone. You just made me think. You're exactly right. I bet you if I went home and looked at my son's cell phone and looked at his contacts, he would have very few contacts, right? They don't use digital media. They don't use that media and phones to connect, right? They don't use it to. And what you're saying there is just so important to understand that it's reality. Technology is reality. How do we use technology for them to help them connect to the world?
Yeah. And then again, open up contacts for kids who your son could call you, right? Or he wouldn't call you. He talked to you at the dinner table and say, Dad, can you connect me? But so many kids don't have a dad like you who can make those connections. So it's to both and for sure.
That's so good. let's stay in this category a little bit. Talk about your advocacy for connecting K-12 with college and careers, right? And what does it look like to you in Indiana when that's working, and where do you see the biggest gaps right now?
So we have gone at this very, very hard, Greg, and a lot of it is because we talked to parents and families, and we said, do you feel like your child is prepared when leaving high school? And we did a Gallup survey at scale. Too many of our parents felt like their child just didn't have the preparation. Which again, I think, as a past high school teacher, we have to look in the mirror. The first thing is to listen, to understand, and get better. The other thing is we talk to students and we watch their data. 76% of our students on average year over year say, I want to continue my education in some way. I want to go into some additional training, whether that's at a community college or a 4-year. And the reality is we're seeing only about 52% of our students going on right now. So that means we're graduating about 16 to 18,000 students every year who walked across our graduation stages with this dream that then never happens. So we
Right.
feel like in so many ways, if I was never a track runner, I was a soccer player, that I think about those relay races where the students like so incredibly are running full speed and hand that baton back to their next person. And we just felt like in Indiana, we were dropping so many batons in the handoffs. The handoffs were just not working. So talking to higher education, business and industry, and our military partners, we brought them all to the table and said, hey, we got to do better. Here's our data. What is the recipe for success? What does it look like? For students and parents and families to know much before their junior or senior year, what are the outcomes they need to hit, right, in high school. And that cost us, Bragg, which was initially a barrier, and I know it's a barrier in some other states, which is why I flag it. We overhauled our high school diploma, and we just called out the recipes for each of those paths, but also built permeability amongst all of them, because kids change their mind and we should have an environment to do that. We have a number of, and I wouldn't even call them gaps. I would call them like challenges that we're going to overcome still ahead. One is going back to that experiential learning and work-based learning. We know the value through research, quantitative, qualitative. So how do we build a system where our students can really work with business and industry, employers in the service? What is a systematic look? How can we build that? And then the other is credentials of value. Credentials of value, Greg, and I don't know about your son, but in Indiana, about 64% of our students leave with college credit. When they graduate high school, the average student leaves with 14.1 credits, which is about one class from a college credential. Once you earn that college credential, no one can ever take it away. And as life hits you after graduation, you always have that. And it could be stackable. So making sure our students have great access to these credentials of value. And again, ultimately the main goal, get better at that baton pass. In that relay race of life. The other thing I would call out, Greg, is like we have work to build an army of people who are with us. I think that is why Indiana is moving at the pace that we are. It is because we have not only, again, our higher education partners, our business and industry leaders, who we talk to both every day, our military divisions, who we talk to constantly, philanthropy community, local mayors, etc. And we try to do our best to supercharge the communities, because that's where the real, I think, magic and action happens. Let's supercharge our communities. Let's get the barriers out of the way at the state and federal level. And and then spotlight those that are just knocking it out of the park for kids. We're going to stay humble and hungry. We have absolutely done a lot of work. We've aligned a pretty massive system that has been the same for 100 years. I shouldn't say aligned. We've overhauled that system that's been about the same. And then we're hyper aware that we have a to-do list that we're going to keep on driving forward on.
I love that. Katie, I'm going to tell you, you are so passionate. You are so passionate. I'm just like captivated by how passionate you are about this. We're going to talk about your leadership in a second, but because of this passion, I know you've got to have an incredible team around you. Talk to our audience a little bit about what does a war room look like for your team, for you guys, when you're talking about some of these bigger issues. How are you getting in a room and finding, hey, this is the path we need to take? Are you out in the field talking to teachers, bringing that information back? Are you going on experience? Like, what does that look like in that room? Because a lot of our audience, they're trying to figure out, how do we tackle these big ideas that we have with our team?
Yeah. I'm a teacher, so I'm a use a lot of analogies or metaphors here. But I almost imagine like you're boarding a boat. What is your destination? My destination is here, and you see that destination very, very clearly. And it's okay. Who do we want to board on this boat and journey with us? Who do we need once we get there? And boarding that boat is probably the most strategic part of this. We see where we want to go. We want to overhaul our diplomas and make them better for Indiana. Who do we need? We need the Superintendents Association. We need the Principals Association. We need this teacher group and counselor group. We need business and industry. We need higher ed. We need military. We need philanthropy. All of those people, we work early and often to board the boat with us. Like, they're helping with the planning. They're helping with thinking through, knowing that we have the same destination. This is our end goal. But and a lot of the goal has been, again, you get as many people with you so that when you charge forward and you turn around and say, do I still have people? I mean, are they are all right there with you. And again, knock on wood, we do not take it for granted. But that's the army that we've built, and that has allowed us to drive change fast. I'll also flag, Greg, I've had an incredibly successful, I work for two governors now, Governor Eric Holcomb and now Governor Mike Braun. They have essentially been like, clear the way, just let her go, let her bring people, let her just do it. And then our Speaker of the House and President Pro Tem of the Senate have done the same. I mean, they just now I'm a little persistent, but if I can't convince them, I pull someone else who can. And
I don't doubt that, by the way. I don't doubt your persistence. Yes.
Yeah. But that's also allowed us to, again, drive hard and fast and really overhaul a system. But Greg, I can't emphasize enough, we have the change management has truly been built at the community level, bringing together the change agents that I named and getting them on the boat early, making them feel a part of it because they are why we're doing it, to get to that other side and get that barrier all the way.
That's so good. And I think a lot of that is going to be, the reason you're successful in that is because your history as a leader in education. I mean, you were a teacher, a school leader, policy advisor. Now you're the Secretary of Education. You just kind of rose up there. And so you've been in the community at so many different levels. How is your leadership style, you feel like, evolved across all of the roles that you have? And what has stayed consistent no matter what? At whatever level, like this is who Katie is. This is always who Katie's going to be. But there are things that evolve depending on what, how you move through the system.
Sure. So let me start with the latter question. What is stayed consistent? My faith is my foundation. I mean, I wish I could. A lot of people will say, Greg, well, Katie always gets what she wants, right? Which is not always true, number one, but what people don't see is behind the scenes, getting on my hands and knees, just praying that we can get through the rough times. Leadership is so hard. I think for all on the call to get what you want, you have to believe in it so deeply. You have to surround yourself with the right army of people. You have to, in my opinion, say your prayers and make sure you're following your purpose. So again, faith is my number one. But going back to that point about being able to drive change and getting the things we want done. I have learned so many lessons along the way that have really changed who I am. I've shared with folks some. The only job that I've ever applied for that I've gotten was a lifeguard in high school. That was great. I have, applied for jobs that, in one in particular that I did not get. And by the way, had a level of devastation, so bummed. But when I look back, Greg, if I had gotten that job, I would never have had this path. And I believe the good Lord had a different plan for me. It was like a God wink for me. That's why I did not get that job. And those in my local community are aware of that, and they'll say the same thing. So knowing, again, growing as a leader, knowing that, gosh, sometimes things don't work out how you want them to, but then you'll realize later why that happened. The other thing I would flag is I always share, you only have so much water in your bucket as a leader, right? So much time and resources. We all do, only so much. And I've watched over the years, leaders, it's where they use their water. So do you water the flowers, the weeds, or the rocks? Those are really the three when you're driving change. If you water the rocks, well, the rocks aren't going anywhere. They're going to be the same place tomorrow. You water the weeds. Well, the weeds, they'll take all the water you give them. I mean, they will attack they might do with you. Some of them bloom, but they will attack your ideas like crazy, right? They will. So we work hard as a team to put our water in watered flowers. Water the people who give it to others, give it to the people who will just bloom, and we can point to left and right. And I tell you, Greg, looking back, I've used a lot of water on rocks, a lot of water on weeds, because I used to think you have to get everyone to drop change. And that has been a huge lesson learned. The last thing I'll just mention is, and I've always known this, but the longer I'm at it, who you surround yourself with is everything. My team, while I'm often, out front, my team is really who's making it happen. The team in the Department of Education, but also the team of external partners and stakeholders that I mentioned. And I'm a big believer that when you sense kind of yellow, red flags with people, you need to start distancing yourself. If they're going to pull you down at all, you've got to, even if you like that person and you've always wanted to be with that person, you gotta heed that gut feeling. Surround yourself with people who will be honest with you, tell you when you're wrong, but people who will build you up and push you to be better. So our team of people I could not be more thankful for. And again, they're also, because of that, I tend to maybe trust them more than I probably used to micromanage. Now I feel like I'm in a therapy session, Greg. I probably used to micromanage a little too much. Now I feel like, okay, go forth and do great things. So those are just a few of the many, many lessons and truly struggle points that people would not know if they just look at the success stories. They would have no idea. But it has been, it's not been easy along the journey. So,
Yeah, John says leadership's a process.
yes,
There is no destination when it's leadership, because it's always changing
absolutely.
over and over and over again. That's
Yes.
so good. All right, I got some rapid fire questions as we close here. So these are coming out of these are going to hit you. You don't even know about them. And so these are just real quick answers. All right. First one is, if you had 30 minutes to have coffee with any leader in the world, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
So first one that pops in my head is Abraham Lincoln. Part of that is because my roots are from Kentucky. My family was from LaRue County, Kentucky, where he spent. But I mean, I believe, brought together a nation, right? And I just would love to sit down and understand why and how he did that. I also, in some of the books about him, he of course had some people who were very against him and his driving towards change and bringing people together. And he would write letters and never send them and like tear them up. I'd like to know what was in those letters. I just need to know that he too was lived it and lived the tough moments. But those would be it. I mean, I'd love to talk to him.
That's so good. All right. Second question. Katie's not leading teams. She's not being a woman of the community, a leader. What would we find Katie doing on an off? Not that you have it, but what would you be doing on an off? By yourself, just being Kate.
Okay. Two things. Friday night, my favorite Friday night this time of year. We live on a tiny lake in southern Indiana, and we get on our pontoon boat, and the lake is so tiny. We turn our music on, and we might go around this lake like 30 times on a Friday night, and our neighbors will hop on from their docks, or they'll go get their little fishing boat out. But that is my Friday night throughout summer and into the fall. On a Saturday, my favorite Saturday is watching my twin daughters, who are juniors in high school, play soccer. They are, a lot of parents say, "Oh, my kid's the best athlete, the best this." My kids, we're probably going to listen to this. My kids are fine, like they're average, but they work hard. If that makes sense. And I love watching them hustle and just get out there and push themselves, but also encourage their teammate. That would be, those are a couple of my favorite things.
Awesome. And I would imagine, are y'all going to be watching soccer today at 3:00? Or are the girls
Absolutely. 100%. Will you be watching?
I'll be working. My assistant got on to me today because her girls play soccer and she's going home to watch it. And "You got to watch it." I was like, "I'll probably be here, but I'm getting there. I'll get home as soon as I can to watch it."
Yes. In fact, I almost wore my red, white, and blue sleeveless like game shirt, but I thought it would be too much for this. But I'll be putting that on, and we're cheering them on.
And the face paint, you decided not to do the face paint as well.
Not going to do the face paint. We'll save that for another day.
All right, last question. All right, so because I know you have roots in Kentucky. So I'm not going to ask you a basketball question, because you're in that's a very tough spot for you. So we're not going to talk basketball. Indiana football, Hoosier football, right? Coming off a national championship, surprised everybody, right? Even though they didn't lose, but they surprised everybody. What was the key for you watching that football team, knowing the coach, which I know y'all all know because he's really connected to you guys? Yeah. What was the key to that team's success in your opinion?
I feel like a couple things. Their fire in them, their purpose, and I'll talk to many of the players. They had something to prove, Greg. All of them that I've talked to, each one of them has a story, again, about being told, "No, you can't," or "You're not good enough for here," and they have this like fire in them. Like they wanted to prove that, yes, they could. That was part of the special sauce. But then the other, Kurt Signetti, I think he could do a clinic on this, but bringing together a team. How do you take the fire that was in each of them, that I have something to prove and I want to, do the best I can, but how do you build a team and pull them all together? One of the recent stories with him about one of the new team members is, and maybe you saw this, but one of them wore gold cleats on like the first day of practice. And he pulled the student athlete aside and was like, yeah, we don't do that here. Like, we are one. It's not about one star, and we are one. So, I mean, those are just a couple of the
So
things I
good.
would flag. And then in terms of being a Hoosier fan, I can't tell you how many tailgates over the 20 years I've been in Indiana where sometimes we don't even go into the game. We just listen to it because we knew the result, we'd be there with our. So, the past couple years, the level of energy and kind of, pride that people have around the Hoosiers. And I mean, they have an underdog story, which
Yep.
I think we all as people love to see because it shows you if they can do it, we can do it. But those players, they were told no so many times. Every single one of them has this story. That's why I don't know how long this movie's going to be about them, but it's probably going to need to be a series because they each have a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
But man, they persisted and they showed a lot of people what they could do.
Well, that's so good. I will say this as we close. I've now spent time with Governor Braun and now spent time with you, and I can say the students of Indiana are in great hands, and the parents of Indiana hands of leaders who, like that football team, are showing students that you are valued. You have something to prove. We're going to help you get to the finish line. And now spending time with both of you, you both and you specifically, Katie, are tremendous leaders for that state. If I will say this, if you live in a surrounding state, maybe move to Indiana because Indiana's got more when it comes to leadership and to kids. And we are so fortunate and honored to have you with us today on this
Thank
podcast,
you.
talking to the audience. I know they got a lot out of it. And I hope we can do it again sometime. I hope we get to meet in
Yes,
person
I
sometime.
hope so too.
I'd love to sit and learn more about you and what we can do to add value to you guys and help you in that process. So, Katie,
Well, thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so
And
much for today.
And Greg, let's absolutely book that in-person meeting, and I'm going to turn the table on you and ask you some questions. So
Okay.
just be
Okay.
ready. I
I'll
want
be
to
ready.
learn from you too.
I will not be as fired up and passionate as you. I can tell you that. I won't be able to equal that, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Go
Thank
USA. Enjoy time with your daughters. Go Hoosiers. Thank you very much.
Go Hoosiers, go Indiana, and everybody's welcome. Come on to the Hoosier state. Take care, Greg.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.